Good afternoon. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Monthrothacube. With me today, I have Jonathan Gaunt. Hey, John. How's it going?
I'm good, thanks, Dale. I love the name.
Good.
I love the name. I'm not sure I can pronounce it, but
Do you want to give it a go?
no.
Flat out, no. To be honest,
Flabonga Monthrothacube.
that's close enough. That's close enough. If you've
For the
seen any of
story's
the
sake.
previous episodes, I sometimes fail saying it, so I usually shorten it to FM. The story behind it is very simple. When I started doing these in lockdown, one of my friends, Nick Smethurst, I said, "Hey man, let's try and brand it. What shall I call it?" And off the top of his head, with his Mancunian accent, he went "Flabonga Monthrothacube," and I went, "Nick, what the hell does that mean?" And he went, "Nothing. Just made it up." And I went, "Right, let's do that then."
Perfect.
It means absolutely nothing. So yeah.
It's good
Thank you
enough.
for
Good
being
enough
here
reason.
today. By the way,
Pleasure.
I know you're a busy guy. You're kind of a big deal in the fintech accounting space. Kind of
I'm lucky.
like
I'm lucky.
a lot of people kind of respect you. Because you've had an extensive career in accounting, right? So early days, late 90s, management accountant, worked for a bank, lots of different
Yeah.
things. Let me think. I'm going to ask you some generic questions first, and then
Okay.
we'll go deeper afterwards. What is the biggest change you've seen in the last 10, 15 years within the accounting and bookkeeping space in the UK?
Biggest change last 10 years. So I guess the most obvious one is cloud computing. Is kind of what's enabled a lot of us to do what we're doing now. I'm pretty blown away by the pace of change of technology in even the last kind of 12 months or so. So like the whole AI, I think is really interesting, but I think it's also interesting in terms of the amount of shit that is being produced. So I think it's that bit of like it's now a volume game of quick fire. How do you produce things really kind of quickly? But I still think that there's a real need there of putting the thought behind it. So I think the people that will really excel with AI, where you use it as a starting point. So I think it's always like my view on things. It's easier to start with something on a bit of paper rather than as a blank sheet of paper. And I think AI gives you a great starting point to move into a direction quickly. So yeah, long answer, but I think AI is the bit that kind of blows my mind.
Okay. Okay. I have to give a shout out to someone who's viewing, Rishi Ruparelia, aka Uncle Rishi. He claims you are a massive big deal. That or he's making a statement about himself.
Oh, I love Rishi. I love Rishi. Like so, I met Rishi at ZeroCon. I'm going to say it must be 5, 6, 7 years ago, and straight away, good guy. And it's like I want him to be my account manager. And one day that dream came true, and Rishi was my account manager at Zero.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, big shout out to Rishi.
He's a very cool guy, and I like to tease him, but
Yeah.
he's one of the most humble people I know. But he knows his stuff. Like he just knows stuff.
Yeah. He knows his stuff, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and we need to look after people like Rishi.
Rishi, 2015. That's when you guys
2015.
first met.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. Question for you, again, based on the fintech accounting space, to someone who is newer to the sector, one of the challenges I find is there's so many big names in the industry. Who should I follow or who should I listen to, in your opinion?
So I think you should always take a lot of things with a pinch of salt. Like it frustrates me at times that there's people who have kind of got out of doing the work, not getting their hands dirty anymore, and then telling you how to do things. So for me, it's that bit of take everything you see with a pinch of salt. I think like social media really pisses me off in the sense that you only ever tell the good news. You never really tell how it is on the ground. And so I'd almost just say use the social media to identify people and then go and have conversations with people, because that's where you'll learn stuff. So get along to some of the shows, listen to people, and then it's like, I think they're a good guy or gal, and go and have a conversation with them. That genuinely, I haven't met anyone who isn't out there to help someone. Like, we've met at shows, Dell, and it's almost that bit of like, you don't know them, you've just got to go up to them and go, hello, and start a conversation that way. So for me, it's that bit of don't hide behind social media. Use it as a way of identifying someone, and then reach out, have a conversation, and make your own judgment.
Okay. Speaking of social media, in the last 6 months, you've upped your social media / LinkedIn game. Like it literally went from 0 to 60 because you weren't particularly active before, and then because I've been connected with you on LinkedIn for a while. We met face to face previously, and you very barely posted. Why have you changed your posting methods or your frequency of posting?
Okay, so I guess it comes back to a little bit of fear there, and you started off by conversation we had before we went live was almost there. There's two different camps. There's people who believe that LinkedIn is a professional platform, therefore it should be very kind of corporate, and then you get the others who believe it should be kind of Facebook, and it's that bit of somewhere in between. I'd always been of the opinion, so I cut my scale in a corporate world where you had to do things in a certain way, and that always kind of frustrated me, and it wasn't me. So I was of the opinion that that's what you needed, that's how you should do things in LinkedIn, and I always looked at it and said, it's not me, not going to do it. Two things. I went to the Accounting Excellence Awards. I sat next to Francesca and Charlotte from Future Cloud Accounting, Future Accounting. And it was interesting getting their view and take on things. And then just after Christmas, I put something out there, and Jerry Williams said to me, just be yourself. And it's like that bit of like, I'll be myself. I'll take the piss out of everyone. I don't take life too seriously. And that's really been the kind of the premise of it, of let me be myself on LinkedIn and let me have conversations that I would have with friends in real life. And I'll just put it out there, and I don't really care anymore if some people will like it, some people will hate it. So I'll give you an example. Whenever I connect with someone cold, I put, please, can we be friends? And on the please, I put 3 E's. And it's that bit. Why? Well, there's something there about being a little bit lazy. So it's almost like that bit of, well, can I do some research about, well, let me look at Dell. What can I write that's interesting? It's like, no one really pays much attention to it. So I just put that bit of, please, can we be friends? And the majority of people will come back with a, well, that's kind of a like, how can I say no to that? Or a laughing emoji. And last week I had someone who was kind of like, why are you writing to me like this? This is a professional platform, and you are coming across as very needy. And it's like, oh, fuck off. Eh? Life's a bit short, isn't it?
Okay. That's pretty cool.
So for me, it's that whole bit of like, I wanna be myself. I want to get some of my opinions across, and I think I'm still kind of finding myself about sharing my real opinions. But hopefully, I've been in this game now for a while. I've got some experience, and I'd like to share that experience with others. So for me, that's the whole reason.
Okay, let's do some silly personal questions then. Quick fire round. I'm going to do either or. Please just think off the top of your head. Don't worry, there won't be ridiculous things. Okay, beer or wine?
Beer.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Chicken or beef?
Chicken at home, beef out.
Salt or pepper?
Salt.
If you could pick one meat you'd have to eat for the rest of your life, forsaking all others, which meat or animal are you picking? Sorry, vegan viewers, I apologize.
Pork. Sorry, Muslim listeners.
Really?
Pork. I love sausage. I love bacon.
Okay. What? Okay.
Shit, am I
Okay.
saying?
You can never have spaghetti bolognese again as you know it, because let's be honest, that's usually beef mince, isn't it?
Yeah,
Usually.
yeah. Beef's the obvious one.
Okay. Okay. I used to say chicken until a friend of mine pointed out that beef is more versatile, so I've gone with beef. Also, I love steak. Can't afford it all the time,
Steak.
but I love steak.
Yeah, no, see, it's bacon. It's bacon for me, but I'd get bored of bacon, wouldn't I? So maybe it is beef.
Not that I want to influence your decision in any way, shape, or form. And I'm aware it's a very silly question, so thank you for humouring me.
Okay, I'm going pork.
Pork. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, not that I keep track of these things, but I think you're possibly one of the very few people that have said pork. Yeah. Okay.
Crackling.
Businessy/personal question.
Yeah.
Why work with Dext? Because you had Xavier Analytics, which is now Dext Precision. How did that come about, and why did you go in that direction?
So there's a bit of backstory. We did Xavier Analytics with one of our clients.
Sorry, I just asked you a serious question, but John Toon has entered the fray, and he said what I was thinking. John Toon, everyone off to clip up. I love sausage. Laughing face.
I do love sausage.
I'm really sorry. Let's
So
bring
I do a
it.
little. Do you want a picture to kind of caption it as well?
Sure, why not?
No.
Sorry, I asked you a serious question about Xavier Analytics and Dex Precision. So
Yeah.
again, why, how? Yeah.
So we did Xavier Analytics with a client, and I think there's something interesting there of coming together of different skills. So we teamed up with a client. We built Xavier Analytics. We got a load of traction very, very quickly with it. We self-funded it, and lockdown was 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into lockdown, it's almost that bit of, right, okay, we need to go out there and get a funding round. And left fields, Receipt Bank kind of approached us and said, we're looking to go to become a multi-product platform, and we'd like Xavier to be one of those first kind of products in there. So it's almost that bit of, we didn't think that Receipt Bank was going to be someone who would be considering acquiring us. We didn't even think the time was right. And so when it kind of came down to it, it felt like the perfect kind of combination. We had some really good conversations with their team about what their aspirations were. And so it felt as though it was a kind of a great natural fit. Hence, we ended up with Dext. And it's that bit of, when you get acquired, you need to kind of embed it into the team. And we did that. And then one day you wake up and you say, I'm not the best person for this anymore.
Cool. I'm going to try and ask you a personal question without being too rude. So I'm thinking how to phrase it. Many people, when they start a tech company, especially SaaS, there's a desire to start the company, grow it quite quickly, 5-year plan, sell, and then retire. Why have you not retired yet?
Two reasons. I haven't got the cash yet.
Oh, okay.
To retire, but I think the kind of the bigger answer there is that I don't see myself ever retiring. I like working. I really, really enjoy working. I enjoy problem solving, and if I'm being honest, I've seen too many people who have retired and then died. So I will probably be working until I'm 85, 90 because I enjoy it. For me, it's about choices. And I think there's points in my career where I've been able to kind of have choices. So I worked in the Middle East for a period of time. Working in a tax-free environment gives you cash that then enables you to make choices. And that was, so for example, that was a choice of stepping away from a corporate life to becoming an entrepreneur.
Okay. What was it like working in the Middle East, and how long ago was this?
So 2007 was when I moved over there. It was bloody hard work, but it was good. So for me, this is one of the kind of pivotal points of, I worked at Lloyds Banking Group. I was in a division where there was thousands of people. So commercial banking, there was probably 4,000 or 5,000 people within a business. So you were always a small part of a big machine.
Mm-hmm.
Moving across the Middle East suddenly then became one employee in 250, 300 people. And so it's then that bit, if you decide to do something, you walk out the door and then you make those decisions. And for me, that was like mind blowing. It's also the experience of implementing a banking system, all of the joys that come with that. I just learned so much in such a very short space of time. And it was great to bring up a small child in the sun with a swimming pool. But yeah, it was great, but it's bloody hot.
Mm.
Yeah.
In terms of working in the Middle East as well, like, were there any jarring culture differences in terms of work and how they work and how we work in the UK? Or was it similar?
So I was based in the UAE, specifically within Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite a relaxed culture. So interestingly, I was offered a job in Saudi back in kind of 2007
Mm-hmm.
was very, very kind of different. It's almost like women can't drive, you have to cover up, etc., etc. Whereas Dubai is a lot more kind of like liberal, but culture is very important, and it's very important to respect the culture.
Mm-hmm.
We were lucky, Lloyds Banking Group, being a British bank, a lot of the local Emiratis wanted to work for Lloyds, so I got to meet a lot of kind of locals in top families, and I really enjoyed getting to understand their culture and kind of embracing it and learning an awful lot. Also within the bank, we had a lot of people from Philippines, India, and I think it's that bit, if you get to understand the different way that people are educated and how they then turn up to work and the way, what roles they're very good at, what strengths they have, etc. So yeah, no, it's brilliant. And I think that bit of diversity has kind of stuck with me, of working with different people from different backgrounds. You can see what that brings.
Yeah, cool. That was a really great answer. Thank you. I appreciate that. So the impression I get of you is someone who is a kind of tell it as it is kind of person. Like, there's no airs and graces. Like, your posts are quite to the point, they're quite direct. So I'm going to ask you some very, not controversial questions, but direct questions. What is your biggest frustration with the UK accounting fintech space, specifically SME space? What's your biggest, like, oh, wish we could do this better, or wish so-and-so will stop doing this? Not naming company names. Do you know, am I making sense? Is that question?
Yeah. So I think it's two things. The pace of change is not quick enough. So I think that bit of the creation, the development of products isn't quick enough. And I think then there's also a big frustration of, I think that it's a little bit of a wild west in terms of how we do things. There's not a standardization of processes. There's not a common way of doing something. And I think that accountants and bookkeepers are also too engrossed in the detail and wanting perfection. But in a small business space, that doesn't add value.
Okay. Challenging question. How can we, I say we, you and I, or people in this space, make that better? What can we actually do about it? So we've identified a problem, but how can we change that?
So I think there's definitely a bit more kind of collaboration. So how do we work together, of almost kind of standardizing things? So I've got a number of kind of, I call them groups, different groups of people that I kind of work with. And for me, it's that whole bit of like, how do we share our best practice? So how do we do things? How do we kind of start to get commonality between it? Because I think that if you took 5 smaller firms,
Okay.
and brought those 5 teams together, I think that you could challenge a lot of the mid-tier firms and larger tier firms in terms of how we approach problems, how we solve problems, our whole kind of like attitude. So that for me is like the likelihood of us coming together to create one business isn't going to happen, or is quite kind of challenging. So for me, it's that bit of how do we come together as groups, and it's almost like share best practice, like work at a problem together.
Again, thank you for giving me such a serious answer, because yeah, appreciate it. There is a LinkedIn user who's, for some reason, I can't see their name. It's probably a StreamYard thing, but LinkedIn user says, "That's deep!" Exclamation mark. You go, Jonathan Gaunt. Can I be in your group? I assume the answer is yes. Like,
yeah.
sorry, whoever
Well,
typed that.
I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is, but
if you wouldn't mind typing your name, please, because for some reason we can't see your name. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's a massive opportunity here of what's the one way of doing a job, and I think it's that bit of all too often we're looking at things in isolation. We look at software in isolation, whereas we should be looking across. And I think there's value there in coming up with one way of doing things. Mr. Marshall, he's already in my group.
Mr. Represent himself, James the Marshall.
Yeah.
He's a likable fellow as well. He's like you. He's quite charismatic, isn't he? We like James. He's all right.
We love James.
He's got good energy. All right. Let me think. Other fun questions I can ask you, or maybe not fun questions. Maybe just more business related questions. Oh yeah, the one I should probably ask you: what the fudge is Socket, and why should I use it?
Okay, so what's Socket? So myself, James, and Rich exited Dext at the end of 22, and part of it was almost kind of going back to our roots of how do we play around with ideas. And we've got the fortunate situation we use FD Works as almost a bit of an experiment kind of case. So we spent 6 months playing around with the idea of what's the biggest problem we can solve in the accounting space. We looked at things like scheduling, we looked at things like resourcing, kind of planning, and where we kept on kind of coming back to is that to enable yourselves to be able to do any of that, you need to understand what's the scope of the work that you're doing for a client. And you need to be able to get that data in a way that you can kind of play around with it. We had a tool that we were using, and it's one of the kind of the big two out in the marketplace, and we kind of kept on struggling to get that data. We had lots of kind of systems and processes that we were kind of building to solve problems around it. And then one day we just looked at each other and it's like, well, should we build a proposal tool? And it was kind of like, yeah. So that's pretty much what we're doing is we're looking to build the best in class proposal tool that enables you to be able to do pricing, but it also then enables you to be able to do things like scoping of projects or work orders. So for example, we've got this concept of anything which isn't in the proposal, we call it a work order. So we're then writing to clients and saying, hey Dale, I can do this bit of work for you. It's going to be £500 extra. Do you want me to do it? And from that, you'll either get an answer of £500. It's all right, I'll do it myself. Or yeah, crack on and do it. But even in any of those scenarios, it's a win because either you're getting paid for it or you're not doing the work and you've got time back. So we had all of these separate processes that we were running and all of the reporting and insights that we were trying to do that was outside of the existing tools. And then we've just started to kind of like build from scratch. And I'm lucky that I work with talented developers who look at it and go, why'd you do it like that? We can do it better. And that's what we've done.
Okay, another question or follow-up question. How is that different from the likes of Ignition, Go Proposal, Pixie, Centaur, maybe even Carbon? How is it different? I know I've mentioned a few different products that have different functionalities or some overlap, but how does Socket differentiate?
Okay, so I think probably the two that the key there are Go Proposal and Ignition. So that's kind of where we're starting. We play nicely with carbon. So for me, it's the first bit you need to know is what's the scope of what you do. And I think there's challenges there that it's the sharing of data. So you need that data to be accessible and useful in other systems, which isn't present in Go Proposal, Ignition. It's quite a kind of closed group there. It's also, how do we make it more dynamic? So things like how do you constantly keep up to date with the volume changes and make the pricing far more kind of simpler to apply. So if you think you want to go and raise all your prices by 5%, how are you going to do that in an existing tool? We want to make those tasks of being incredibly easy, of just saying, right, okay, here's some of the global changes that I want to make. Let's apply it. We also want to make it that you're getting full recovery of software charges. So Richard Sargent's done a really good piece of work that talks about the cost of software that's increasing. Now, for me, there's real challenges of how do you make sure that you're recovering those costs from your clients? It shouldn't be that hard. So how can we take an invoice, bring it into the system, and then apply those changes, or make sure you're charging clients correctly?
That's a tricky one, isn't it? Because there are two schools of thought, and I'll go with the two extremes. One, you absorb the cost of the software, it's just the cost of doing business, or you disperse it and charge it on, right?
Yeah. So I think it depends on what the software does for you. So for something like Zero, where it's a core kind of platform and everyone's kind of using it, I think you need to be quite transparent about that as a cost. And so then when that price changes, I think you need to strip it out from your fee, because when that price changes, you can then explain to the client, oh, Zero put the price up by £5. That's why your fee's moving. Whereas if you're using a tool like Dex Precision, which is enabling you to be more efficient. Nice.
Sorry, had to get it in there.
Then I think that's the bit where that's a cost that you should be absorbing. Again, like tax calc, if that's what you're using for your year-end account production, you're not passing that on to the client. So I think there's a different answer depending on what the software is. But we need an easy mechanism of applying these changes. And that's what we're setting out to do, of how do we make these activities as easy as possible. And then the proposal is then the starting point of lots of other activities and conversations. So like onboarding, there's not a solution out there yet for onboarding. We're going to solve that problem.
Just again, for people who aren't in the industry, because I do get some people who aren't in our space, please could you define onboarding?
Okay, so you've taken on a new client, and so let's say it's something simple like payroll. We're taking on a new client, we're going to deliver a payroll service for them. There's lots of information that you need to get you up to speed and being able to do payroll. So for example, you need to know simple things like, when do you want to run payroll? You need to write to the old provider and say, can you give me the historic data? You need to register with HMRC as being an agent. There's lots of activities that need to be done, but there's no simple way of being able to do this or make sure you've covered all of the bases. And quite often you might miss something, but then that's the one bit of information you need in order to be able to complete a task. So again, we want to make that a seamless, simple task, which is very, very easy to deliver. And how can we also make it a bit more of a interactive activity with a client? Because I think that this is the bit where we need to demonstrate the complexity of what we do and what we're doing in the background, because a lot of the times we're like a swan. We just make it look incredibly easy. And I think that's to our own detriment.
I concur. I'm aware that a lot of effort goes into onboarding, whether it's payroll or other services, and there's all this back end stuff that goes on that takes forever. So yeah, I completely agree with that. Okay. What is your favorite accounting industry show and why? I know, put you on the spot there. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
I'm going to go with ZeroCon. And I'm going to go. The reason I'm going to go with ZeroCon is because I'm a bit of a fanboy of Zero. Really good memories. So when they bought InstaFile, we were as Zara Analytics, we just started and we were sat in the crowd, and it's almost like, right, okay, we're coming back next year, and that's going to be us on stage. So I want to work for Zero at some point. So that for me is perhaps my working on Zero from a product perspective is possibly one of my dream roles. And so it's that bit of ZeroCon when they acquired InstaFile. We said that's going to be us that's going to be us soon. We came back for the next year with Zara Analytics, and it was awesome. It was freaking awesome. So yeah, I've got really fond memories of ZeroCon, and I'm tempted to go to ZeroCon Nashville this year.
Do it.
Yeah.
I mean, what a way to apply for a job, because there are some people from Zero who watch this, and if you want, I can send you the recording and you can just, forward it on to people in the DMs. I want to work for Zero.
Yeah, one day. And there's also, I want to go to New Zealand as well. So there's part of it, I feel as though I can do that with Zero as well. But yeah. One day.
Okay, complete tangent, topic change. Because I'm aware that I actually have some uni student age people watching this show, people starting their career. What advice would you give to a younger person who wants to get into bookkeeping or accounting? Where should they start? Why should they do it?
So I think it's an awesome role in terms of the impact that you can have. I think there's this bit of it takes a period of time to get the skills. Mm-hmm. So I say I grew up in banking, and for me, accounting is the new banking. When I was younger, the bank manager was like the pillar of the community. They knew every single business owner. They were involved in a lot of the decision-making kind of processes. And I think that as banking has changed, that role has been taken away. And so I think that the accountant and bookkeeper has that perfect right to almost kind of step in there and be the pillar of the business community. And I think it's fascinating that you can understand all of the various bits that are going on, and you can learn a load from one client that you can then apply to another client, or it's about asking the right questions, or have you thought about it? So from a career point of view, being an accountant and bookkeeper is awesome. And I say, if someone said to me in early 2000s what my job was, I would say I was a banker, because I was a little bit embarrassed of being an accountant. And then when the credit crunch happened, I was embarrassed to say I was a banker, so I reverted back to an accountant. Now I'm proud to be an accountant.
No, that's a great answer.
I think, though, there is something there around being around people that you can learn an awful lot from. So if I go back to my career, I've been really lucky that there's people that have pushed me outside of my comfort zone, but have been there to support me. So I think that is an open mindset, a growth mindset, but you have to be around people that are going to give you those opportunities and push you outside of your comfort zone. And so for me, then that's the bit of finding the right organization.
Okay. In your opinion, do you think the size of the firm affects that level of support, or it's just a culture thing, so the size is irrelevant?
No, I think it's about people. I think it's about the leadership. So if I look back Lloyd's, I was really fortunate there that there was some great leaders, there were some great people that I guess part of it is asking the question and being like asking the question of those people around me, what do I need to do? And if people aren't challenging you or giving you support, then that's the bit I think you need to walk with your feet. But you do need to ask those around you of, can you support me? Because there's no point of just jumping from one place to another. You've got to have the conversations with people of going, how do I improve? Get feedback from people. And if you're not getting constructive feedback from people, then that's the point where I'd probably look at moving.
You are the second person on the show who said something like that. So I had Eamon on a little while back, and he said, like, yeah, if you're looking for your career progression, you have to tell people what you actually want and then go for it. So no, 100%.
Yeah, or people watch. So I think there's something really interesting about people watching, and it's also looking at those people who are perhaps one step in front of you. Again, this is where LinkedIn can be fantastic. Of find out those people who are similar to you and ask them for time. Like it's that bit of reaching out and asking them for a bit of time. So yeah, I think part of it is you might not know what you want to do, but you do need to have lots of conversations with people to work out what's interesting. And I think it's that bit of my early career, I almost did things for 2 years. So it's that whole bit of, how can I learn something in 2 years and then move on and then move on? And then at some point it's that bit where you know what you want to do, you've got the skills, and then you're ready to build from there, but never stop learning.
Awesome. I'm going to jump into the comments. We've got a question from Josh Hopkins. Will Socket work with Zero software or against it?
Okay, so it will definitely work with Zero. So the way we are integrating with Zero, and effectively what we're doing is we are pushing the monthly invoices into Zero. So again, this is a frustration that we had, is that we were maintaining invoices in two different systems. So we had the source where we were raising a proposal, and then we were doing repeating invoices in Zero. And then when it came to making a small change, it's kind of like, it's really clunky to go through and change the proposal. So we were just making quick changes in Zero, and then suddenly you had a system that's out of sync. So what we've done within Socket is we can generate the proposal, we can make quick changes within Socket, and then that'll feed straight through to Zero. So yeah, we're always about working with Zero.
Oh, cool, awesome. Josh, thank you for answering that question, by the way. That was a really good question. I think we're going to wrap things up very shortly, but before we do that, I've got two kind of things I want to cover off. First of all, do you have any questions for me? And second of all, if you want to end this on a bombshell, do you have like a nugget of wisdom that you want to drop? You like your final comment? Just be like, boom, done.
Okay. So I guess question for you. Why do you do what you do? What do you want to get out of this?
Do you mean the live streams or the work?
Live streams, yeah. So I'm quite intrigued. I'm quite intrigued to, like, it's great. I love what you're doing. Do you get?
Okay.
Are you getting what you want out of this?
So I'm not gonna lie. Originally, it was just for fun, and I still enjoy it. The reason why I do it, as you alluded to before we went live, is I want to kind of bridge the gap between the boring content and business stuff and personal content, kind of meet in the middle. That's one thing. I do it for my own amusement. I do it to ask dumb questions as well. Like, there's lots of people who are afraid to ask questions of experts and leaders in their field. I'm happy to do that live on behalf of everyone else and look like a fool. And I'm not going to lie, my focus for this has changed a little bit. I'm thinking of I'm trying to monetize it at some point. Now I need to get my stats and metrics in order first. How many viewers watch this, how many eyeballs are on it, how many impressions, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd love to get some kind of sponsorship going. That'll be fun. I've got bills to pay.
Perfect. So I think that's a shout out to everyone out there of how can we help Dell to monetize it.
Much appreciated. And again, your final thoughts, your nuggets of wisdom.
My nuggets of wisdom. So I think there's this. Everyone's got a product in them, and I think it's that bit of how do you tease some of those products out to make the sector a better place. So everyone has probably got something that they're doing that is saving them a heap of time and making them so much more kind of quicker and efficient, or spotting something. How can you share that, and how can you bring it to the market, is almost a challenge for everyone.
You're right, it's a massive challenge.
But I think there's something, like, I genuinely think that everyone has got a product in there. So we've done Xavier, we've done Socket. Feels like payroll's still broken.
Yeah, I've got a lot of colleagues in the payroll department who are frustrated by the lack of innovation in that area. So yeah.
So for me, it's that bit of everyone always looks to their account manager to solve a problem for them. What is it you can do to solve these problems yourself is almost a challenge out there to everyone. Of assume you're going to get nothing from your account manager. How do you go out there and solve that problem yourself by taking ownership of it? And I think there's some exciting businesses, there's some exciting ideas that people are sitting on. And for me, it's that bit of how do we encourage them to be brave, try and get it out there, try and share it, try and get people to create their own business, create their own destiny.
And with that bombshell, you literally laid down the gauntlet. Come on, people, step up, be creative, get your stuff out there. I'm going to hit end stream. Jonathan, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for everyone who's been in the comments. And I think we're done.